Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending today's Lunch and Learn session. Today's topic is on using conditions in reports, inquiries, and file maintenance with presenter Robert Childs. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone will be in listen-only mode, so if you do have questions, please type them into the questions box on your screen, and we will address them at the end of the session. If you need to step away, please do not put your phone on hold. If you have hold music, it will play for all the attendees. This webinar will be recorded, and we will email a copy out to everyone within a few days. I will now turn it over to you, Robert.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our presentation here. I hope everybody can see my screen. So we're going to go through conditions. We're going to actually do some samples in the software. But let's take a look and I'm having a little technical difficulties. Okay. So what we can do is modify our conditions while printing reports. We could modify and add conditions to inquiries, and we can use conditions while performing file maintenance. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to drop data from our inquiries right into Excel, very clean and very nice. It's always been a problem in the wish list a lot of clients have had. So here's what we're going to cover today. I'm going to jump right into the software. Actually, I'm going to go into my Job Plus application. And I'm going to start with a very simple example of I'm going to run a standard report. I might go here and just run a quick little job list. And so let me run this report, do a print preview. And you can see here that I have my job list with my project managers and some other information. So let's say I want to run this report, and this can be any report now. We can do these conditions on. I want to run it and just, I want to condition it just to print the project manager. So very simple. I open up the report, I click conditions, and I scroll down and I find my project manager, and I say it's equal to RLC. Okay, just hit the print, the OK. So I've added this condition. I hit OK, print preview. And so very easily, and I'm sure most of you guys have used this before, very simple, just limit to project manager. Okay? And you know you have a condition assigned to a report when you have these very subtle little asterisks over here. This indicates that a condition is being applied to the report. So you may not be looking at all the data just being filtered. Okay? So that's a very simple example of a condition on a report. Simply run the report, click conditions, locate the field you want a condition on, and enter a value. So we're comparing a field to a value in this case, and print preview. Very simple. Okay? If we add a little bit more complexity, we take a look at our conditions here. We see the project manager equal to RLC. We can actually add additional ones here. So if I click the Add button, you got to pay attention to this little guy here, and or. So maybe I want to get RLC as project manager or Dave Jones, okay? So I have to click the or button, find the project manager, and I would fill this out like this. It's not case sensitive, even though I typed it that way. So I'm getting the project manager equal to RLC or Dave Jones. Click print preview, and you can see that I have the two of them. Okay, just one example of comparing a field to a value. And the ands and ors come into play because my project manager cannot be RLC and David Jones. It has to be one or the other. So that's why I use the or. Okay? So very simple, compare a field to a value. A couple of things I could do. These are alphanumeric fields. If I wanted to hit cancel out of here, cancel here. One important point, the conditions I just entered are now forgotten or lost. They don't stay with the report. So if you're concerned about people coming up here, running reports, adding a condition to it, filtering the data, no harm done because they cannot save those conditions with the report. You saw me there, I entered a field to a value. I can also do with numeric. So maybe I want to go through here. That's not the one I want to get. I can go through here and condition on numeric values too. So for example, if I zoom in here, take a look, maybe I want to get my contracts that are over $500,000. So my original contract, I go here. There's a condition being assigned to this report already. You're going to see this where you have existing conditions already assigned. And I actually, again, I knew that because there was asterisks out here. To help interpret what some of these mean, this closed job condition equals X. That actually reads, closed job condition is equal to true. That's how we read that. So that would mean that you clicked this box and said, yes, I want to include closed jobs. If I leave it unclicked, that condition will be false or not true. So that doesn't get in my way. I can leave it there and simply hit add. And I said I want to get it to the revised contract amount. So we scroll down through this list, and we're going to find revised contract amounts. Just a little bit of help on this list here that we're going through. It's basically sorted as the file maintenance. So if you went to set up jobs, this would be the general tab you're flipping through, and it goes from basically tab to tab. If you have problems finding the field, you can hit find and try and locate it that way. The other way is you can hit the order key and order it alphabetically. And so I could come down here and if you scroll down through here, that's called revised contract value. Okay. Revised contract amount is greater than or equal to $500,000. And then I would get those contracts or those jobs greater than $500,000. Just back up to the previous example for a moment. Dave Jones was my project manager. If I enter David Jones and I'm looking for Dave Jones, that will not match. That will not grab that criteria. So when using alphanumeric, you have to be very diligent and pay a lot of attention to the way you enter that data. Okay, another example we could do is we can actually, well, we did the numeric comparison of that report. We did the values there. What we can do is we can run another report here. And if I run my profit variance and I do a print preview, this is my original estimate. If I zoom out a little bit, okay. My job today cost, maybe, let's go to a different report, sorry. Look at my job cost summary. Here I have a total estimate, and I have some items that are over budget. Sorry, I have some items over budget. Okay, so over here I have some negatives. Maybe I just want to query in and look at the items where the total cost exceeds my estimated cost. So I'm going to compare one field to another field. So what I'm going to do is here, add my condition, and you can see here I've got a couple of other pre-existing conditions on here that says the group cost code is not equal to X. And I'd like to take a second and just explain that, because a lot of people don't understand what that means either. I'm going to jump into a quick inquiry, and I'm just going to go to this screen right here and open up a job. Now, these cost codes are user-defined, so some of you people might not have this same format, but the 000s in Simmerline on the cost codes are roll-up. So this $138,000 is the sum of all the Division 1s rolled up together, and 2 is the sum of the 2s and so forth. Well, this report said, don't include those on that job because my cost then would be doubling it up. I'd have the individual detail, and I'd have the roll-ups also, and then someone's going to say the report doesn't work, and it's busted, and the data doesn't look right. Well, that's why. So we say eliminate the group cost codes. So the group cost codes, in my example, are the cost codes that end with 000. Same thing with the closed job condition we saw before, and activity condition. That activity condition actually is a formula that says if the cost code does not have any activity, don't print it. And so I don't want to see a bunch of zeros here. But what I'm going to add here is I'm going to go ahead and add a condition where my job-to-date cost, and I'm going to find that by clicking in this window to get focus into there. I'm going to type on the keyboard, JTDCO, and it does a best fit down to the field you're looking for. So I'm going to say job-to-date cost is greater than or equal to, not a value, but a list item. I'm going to go to another item, and I'm going to click in here and type TE for total estimate. Okay. The other way to find it, I showed you earlier, was you can click the order button, and you can go through and locate the total estimate that way. So I'm going to compare one field to another field. And I'm going to hit the OK button here, and you can see I've added that condition to the pre-existing conditions. Hit the OK button, print preview, and lo and behold, these are the items that are over budget. And so I'm able to filter or do reporting by exception, and rather than clutter up my reports with a bunch of stuff I may not be interested in. Okay. So that's an example of comparing one field in the database to another field in the database. I jump over to accounts payable. We'll do a couple other things. I'm going to go ahead and run a invoice report, open invoices, and I'm going to do a print preview, and I get this a lot. I just want to see that for a particular job. Okay, so I go to my conditions, and I'm going to add, and I'm on my AP transaction, and I'm going to click it there and just type in J, and I'm going to look for the job. I can't find it. I go to order, alphabetical. Let's look for this job starts with a J. It's not in here. Okay? It's not in the table that I'm looking for. So by default, when you open up conditions, you get the driving table, as we say. It's basically, it's the smallest or most amount of detail that's contained in the report, and that's the driving record. If you don't see the field in that record, you can hit the index button, and it will show you all of the tables that are in the report. So if I looked on invoice, the invoice got to have the job on it. So I'll go to here and I'll type J, and journal, no job. So what's happening is you have to learn the database a little bit to really make this truly effective. But if you recall, when you enter AP invoices, the invoice data, this is the invoice record, and when you get down below that, hopefully everybody has some little knowledge of the AP. If you get below that, that's the distribution. That's the line that says, hey, that's where the jobs is entered, the cost code, the GL accounts, and so forth. So this report, I'm not going to be able to condition by job because I can't get to the job records. The table that's in the tables that are in the report are not in, do not contain the appropriate data. So what I'm going to do is just cancel this, and we actually have a report on the screen that I can go through and say, I don't run invoices by job. So I'm going to click the master file. Okay. Again, I have pre-existing conditions. If I look at that, it's going to say that the job's not blank because I want only invoices for jobs. And
hey, Bob, I'm sorry to interrupt, but your screen froze. Did you hit pause or something? Yeah. It's frozen on add condition.
Oh. Any better?
No.
I'll make you the presenter. Maybe you, Anthony, I'll make you the presenter. Maybe come off and maybe come back in.
Okay. Did you change it?
Yeah, I did get a message about the, you are now, Anthony is the presenter.
Okay, I just switched it back to you. Did something pop up?
Yeah, I'm showing my screen now. Same thing moving?
No, I'm not seeing your screen anymore.
Damn. Any better?
No, I don't see your screen. I just see that main screen. Everyone, please stop typing in questions. We're trying to resolve the issue. We know that we can't see it. Thank you.
Do you want me to log out and log back in?
I don't see any other options, so yes. Please bear with us, everyone.
I got to go to the email. Okay, so do me a favor. You have the meeting ID right there?
Yes.
I lost my internet connection probably. Crap. It says I'm connected. I'm going to join the meeting. Give me the meeting ID.
304-878-801.
801.
Yes.
I got to register.
No, you have to join as the presenter.
So join meeting.
I resent you the email. You probably have to click that specific link.
It doesn't work with the Outlook I have.
Can you copy and paste it?
Yeah, I did that earlier. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm back online. Oops.
Okay. We see you on a webcam.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that, fellow. Sorry.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, now we can see you.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Where did we leave off? All right, so did we start this inquiry? And so I was trying to show you how we could filter accounts payable invoices by job. I went through the AP invoice screen. Kristen, did you see that?
I think so. I think
Okay.
that's where it stopped.
Okay, so what I tried to do real quick here is I tried to go through the open invoices and say I want a condition by job, and we determined that the job record was not in the reports. I couldn't get to it, so what I need to do is go to a more detailed report and actually there's one on the menu called Invoices by Job, and I clicked that master file, and then I went to my conditions. And I said we only want to print invoices that have a job, so condition with job's not equal to blank. And the print criteria is print open invoices only, and the payment date is true, which says it's got to be less than or equal to that. Then I add a record in here, and on my AP distribution is where you see the job. So I can go ahead in here, and I can query that by job, and I can query the issue here what we wanted to illustrate was you have to be able to have the right records in the report to be able to filter it. So if you don't have that report in that record in your report, you're not going to be able to filter that. Okay. So I had to go to a different report, but a lot of times I will get that question to filter invoices by job. We have to go down to the distribution record to get that. I can also go a little bit further if I wanted to. I could filter, and I could filter cost codes through here. So if you wanted to zero in on a particular cost code, I could actually go in and add additional filters where I could say that, for example, I could add, and the cost code is equal to a particular value. and you could add as many conditions to the report as required. So if you have the right data, you would filter all that stuff out. You would be able to add as many conditions as you need to on that. Now, one thing about some of these reports that notice the range button. We have a range button here. This report will filter the data by the vendor or the key that the report is being driven by. So let's say, for instance, on my condition here, I said, hey, I want to get where the job is equal to 03001, and I want to go and say, and the vendor is equal to X. Okay? I could go in and add that here. I could say, and the vendor is equal to 100 in my case. But a better way to do that is put the filter on so you get the job, and then go to the range button and just select the vendor you want there. The range is much faster, much more efficient, and a better way to select if you're using the key. In that case, was the vendor. So I can filter by the job. I use the range button to go and get the companies. That's the vendors. That's a difference. If you're over the job cost, your range button is typically going to show you the jobs. If you're an AR, it'd be the customers, et cetera. Okay? So that's pretty much the extent of the conditions on the reports. If I go into inquiries, it's very similar concept. If I go into an invoice register, and now I can filter. Now notice, by the way, now this here, quick here, I'm on version 13.4, and this, they changed the inquiries quite a few versions ago. If yours doesn't look like this, it probably has the buttons on the bottom. I still see some people with the buttons on the bottom, what we call the classic view. So this is the newer view, so if it looks different to some of you people, that's why, okay? And the way you do the conditions on the inquiries is filter up here, okay? Right around 4 o'clock, we start to call this the martini glass. So this filter here, I would add conditions right here, okay? And I'm going to go down here, and maybe I want to see just the invoices that actually I got to drill down on all the invoice data. And I want to see just the invoices by a particular date. So I want to go through here and say the invoice date is greater than or equal to, and I'm going to pick, eliminate all my 12. I'm going to say 010113 and hit OK. And so now I'm just looking at 2013 invoices. And notice a little green checkbox or check mark here. A filter is being applied. That's how I know I'm not looking at all my data. Now, some of the people on the call here I know from years ago, and I have people that work with people, I work with people that have software probably 15, 20 years, and we don't archive a lot of data out of here, which might be a topic for another lunch and learn. But we add filters to the inquiries permanently so that when I jump into my AP invoices, I'll say, okay, I'm just going to display the stuff 2011 and on. If you need it, and so we add it to the inquiry permanently. If you need to, you just come in here and delete it, and all the data will pre-fill. It makes the system a little bit more efficient. So what I did here was I said, let's just get the data, the invoices for 2013 and beyond. I can add another one here, and I could say add. In this case, I would say and the invoice date. I'm going to say it's less than or equal to, and I'll do May 31st, 13. So I'm just going to look at the first 5 months. Click OK. Now the reason I use an and here instead of or, if I said invoice date greater than or equal to 1/1/2013, it would get everything from January 2001 and on. And if it said or less than May 31st, 2013, it gets everything prior to that. So that would give me everything. So in this case, I need to use the and criteria. So here, I'm getting just the invoices that are greater than or equal to January 1st, less than or equal to May 31st using my filter. Now, I told you in the reports, when you add a condition, they don't get saved. In the inquiries, it could be that you have security set up so they can get saved. So that's something you guys may have to go look through the inquiry manager. If it comes up and I change my inquiry and I exit out of here, it says, hey, do you want to save that? That means you have permission set that the operators can change that inquiry. And you probably want to go through and check that before you cut everybody loose on this. Okay? And that's done in inquiry designer and inquiry manager. So if I delete this condition, just like it did in the reports, I say, hey, I can compare fields to values. So I use a date field to a date, to an amount, to a dollar amount that I entered, like an invoice amount greater than or equal to X. Okay? I can also compare a field to a field in here also. So let's say I only want to get the fully paid invoices. There's a number of ways to do that. Or maybe I want to just get I'll get the fully paid invoices. I'm going to say the amount paid. So I'll scroll down, and on here is the amount paid is greater than or equal to, again, another item here, the amount. So I'm comparing a field to a field, and I click OK, and I only have one invoice where the amount paid is greater than or equal to the original amount of the invoice. Another way to do that is, and just a little bit on inquiries here, this header row, as I call it, if I click up here in the header row, I get insert, edit, insert, add, or delete a column. I'm going to insert a column, and it opens up the table where I'm at, and I can hit status, and you can see the status change to fully paid. So another way I could do that is I could take and say I need the status equal to and fully paid. Now this is a different type of criteria. It actually shows me the valid selections for this field. So you'll see this sometimes when you go through an inquiry condition or a report condition. It actually shows you the values of the field that is available. So I'm going to say I want to be fully paid. And again, it's the same criteria as I did, the amount paid greater than or equal to the invoice amount. If I remove that condition, have them all come up. One other condition that's helpful is if I add a condition to here and I say that I want to do an index, I could actually go to AP formulas. In AP formulas, we have AP formulas, JC formulas, AR. We got each application has some preset formulas. And you can actually look at these formulas by going into tools and formulas. I don't think we have time to do that today, but underneath tools and formulas, you can navigate through there and you can see what some of these formulas do. But this particular formula says AP balance of the invoice. So I'm going to compare that. I'm going to say that that's equal to 0. So this is a Timberline supplied formula, and we're using formulas now to compare. And I'll say that I want to get that at that AP formula, the balance of the invoice is equal to 0. Remember, I can click up here, I can add a column down here, and I can go to index. These are the tables that I could pick from, AP formulas, and I'll put that in my inquiry. Also about conditions, when you're doing these on reports, what I typically like to do is put the data on the report or the data on the inquiry while I'm filtering, so I could see, in fact, that my filters do work. So what I do is I try and throw the data on the report, on the inquiry, and then start to filter and say, yeah, this is working. And one thing real quick is up here, this I find very helpful. Sometimes I get a inquiry, hey, who did that? Okay, well, what Timberline does is we store the operator stamp on there, and I can actually go through and I can see who did all those entries, what date and what time and so forth, and I could filter down by that. Maybe if I have an issue with an invoice, I could go over and ask Yogi what he was doing and maybe get some insight there. Okay. So those are inquiries on a report, inquiries on rather conditions on a report, conditions on the inquiry. And the other thing I want to show you was inquiries and file maintenance. I'm going to go to my job cost, and I'm going to go to the next. I just put through my screen, and you see I have my project manager RLC. So let's say if my project manager RLC left, and I had to replace all of these jobs that RLC is on with somebody else. So what I could do here is I can click on the conditions button, and I can say I just want to get where the project manager is equal to RLC. And when I enter this, click OK, and then OK. Now, what a lot of people don't know is we use the function keys quite extensively in Sage, or you can. So if I hit the F8 key, F8 is next. So when I hit the F8 key, it scrolls through my database and goes to the next record. And then I can quickly go through here, and I can change this field right down here. I'm not going to change it yet. I'm just going to hit cancel here. So if I go F8 all the way through my system, it's only displaying those records that the project manager's RLC. It doesn't work if you hit the list button. It works if you hit the F8, which is forward, and F7 is backwards. So it's a very quick little method to limit what you're scrolling through in your data. I see this sometimes, for changes, like I say here, project managers, or maybe you just want to flip through and look at certain types of jobs and so forth. So it's actually helpful in file maintenance to locate just those particular records that need to be touched, edited, and so forth. Okay, the last thing, and that can be done, that's true in any application, by the way, and the only thing you don't know is it doesn't put the asterisk there for whatever reason, but you click on that, you'll see the condition. So that's helpful if you use the F7 and F8 key. So I'm going to close out of there, and I'm going to jump over to GL. I'm going to do an inquiry. I'll do entries out of my current file. And let's see, I'm going to add just a couple fields here. I'm going to insert a column here. I'm going to get my reference 1, which is usually the vendor ID, the vendor. And then I'm going to add another one in here. And I'm going to get reference 2, which is usually the invoice number. If I scroll down through here, make these a little wider. Okay, then you see a bunch of stuff coming up. Okay. So nice to get this in Excel, and Timberline never really figured that one out with the reports. The reports don't go to Excel too well. The inquiries don't go too well. But if in version 12, you'll see this little icon, 12 and newer, hit this button, and lo and behold, here's my Excel data with all the data formatted properly, put it in there nice and pretty. And I'll just format these columns. And if I look and see, yep, my debits right here came in nice and pretty, and then my credits, they all match. So that's something that they added in version 12 and beyond. And so what you do is populate your inquiries, get the data set the way you want to see it, hit that icon, and boom, the data goes right into Excel, formatted, nice, neat, clean. So that's our presentation for today with ranges and conditions on reports and inquiries and dropping data into Excel. So I guess, Krista, if we wanted to open up for questions, it'd be a good time.
Okay. If you do have a question, please type it into the questions box. We do have a couple here. First question is, can you save conditions to a report just for yourself without changing the main report conditions?
Not very easily. It would take, not very easily. It could be done, but it takes a little bit of creativity. You'd have to add quite a few formulas and conditions in there to check the operator and a bunch of other. What you could do, a better way to do that would be, you can take the report, save as, modify it, and put it onto the menu system as a new and different report. If you're concerned about other people running it, then you can limit security access. So, yeah, I would do it that way.
Okay. Next question is, how do we know what records are in a report?
The best way to do it is to go into the reports and open up the reports and say, okay, go to conditions, hit the add button, and click down here, and you'll see the records that are available. Okay. Other than going into Report Designer and open up the report and try to figure it out that way. The best way is to go to conditions, add the conditions, and do it. Okay. And when you do that, I'll do this in this inquiry. If I go, I'm going to add something here. I'm just going to insert a column before this. I'm going to put the vendor right here. A lot of times, well, who's the vendor name? this is where I click here. I'd go to insert a column, and this is how you would do it in the report designer too. Well, I hit the index button. I go change to the vendor records, and then I select the field out of the vendor records to condition on, or in this case, I'm going to display it. So then I double-click the name, and then, so that's how you flip back and forth between the records once you find the correct record in the reports or inquiry.
Okay. Next question is, can you add more than one cost code on the same inquiry?
You can. Remember how I did the project managers, where I said the project manager is equal to RLC or Dave Jones? You could say that the cost code is equal to whatever you need to, or it's equal to that, or it's equal to that. And also what you can do, if you go through some of these reports, and let me look at so if I look at something like this, so I want to condition this, I would say conditions add cost code. Now, sometimes it matters where you want to do this. I want to add this to the bottom. Add cost code equal to, and you think I would have paid attention, and to the cost code, that, or cost code equal to 16100. I'm sure that's in there. So you use the ors there. And it would go through and find, I guess, a 1501 was that. That's how you would get multiple cost codes on there. Real quick, if you wanted to, our cost codes are broken down. Remember, so if you have two sections, our division and our section make up my cost code. So maybe I want to get just division 01. So you can actually pick your cost code apart too. So if you were concerned about just one division in your cost codes, now this changes from client to client. So some people it might just be cost code. Other people have 2 or 3, 4 sections, so that will vary, that piece in there. But here I just say I want my division to be 01, and I'm going to change that and say division equals 16, and I know I use that one. So I'm going to grab everything in that division. So you could also do stuff like that, depending on how detailed you have to get. Okay?
Okay. Next question is, I quite often use extras when running a job cost inquiry change order log. Is there a way to get the change order to show on one screen with extras and cost codes?
Yes. If you sign it now, change order, I'm assuming that we're doing subcontract change orders. If you do owner change orders, yes, do subcontract change orders. So you could condition the report the same way, where you say the extra is equal to X, and the change order, if the records, it's a tough question. Depends on the report that you're running. If I go through the entries by job, on this record, we have all of the detail. So I could go through here and I could get a change order. Depends on the table that's in there. So you could do it. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer that, Krista. I mean, you could get a commitment change order. You could get an owner change order if it's on the record. So yes, you could get to that data, just no matter what report you're starting with, and you can condition it that way.
Okay, Karen, if you have extra questions after this, you can contact Bob directly. I'm sure he'll be happy to help you. Next question is, can you filter the invoices by increasing dates, example, January 1, then February 2nd, etc.?
Filter. So just by month?
By increasing dates, so January 1st, February 2nd, March 3rd, April 4th.
I'm not sure I understand that question. Filter by January and then filter by February?
It says by increasing dates. And the example is January 1, then February 2. Maybe you could get back to Kelly afterwards.
Yeah, I tell you what, why don't you, I don't know if I put it out here, why don't you throw my email out there?
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
And I'll send you Kelly's information as well.
If you do that, and then if you have a particular report that you guys are looking at, I probably regret saying this. If you want me to take a look at it, tell me which one it is, or send it to me, and I can just help you point you in the right direction.
Okay, that sounds great. Next question is, how do you link tables?
You don't. Timberline links them for you. Timberline knows, for instance, that a vendor is a key. So when I go into AP vendor master file, the key is the vendor number or the ID, and then I find that vendor key in another record, i.e. the job cost transaction table. It automatically links the job cost transaction table back to the AP vendor record, so I don't have to link it to go get the name. Now, in some cases, there's a link, but it's kind of like an artificial one. For example, in the job cost commitment record, we store the vendor ID on the commitment. But believe it or not, it's not an automatic link. If I'm going through the commitment items to the commitment to the vendor. So in that case, the way you join them, if you want to use that way, you do a lookup. In your report designer, you do a lookup that says look up the vendor ID based upon the vendor code from the commitment. So if that's what we're referring to, that would be the lookup. And that's done in Timberline's report designers only, not in Inquiry Designer. Now, just one quick point here is all the reports I displayed to you were Timberline reports. This one happens to be a Crystal report. Usually the way you know that, well, there's no condition button, and usually without special program, there's no range button on there. So this is a Crystal report, and you're not going to be able to filter it by using any of that criteria I showed you. So that's the difference between a Timberline report and a Crystal report. You're looking at here a Crystal report, no condition button. Just keep that in mind.
Okay. Ready for the next one?
Yes.
Okay. If you wanted a report to be conditioned just for your own purposes, could you just create a macro?
Yes, you could create a macro. You could create a macro to do that. So you create a macro to do that. Add the condition to the macro. Macros, of course, when you run them, if it's a prompt field, it's going to prompt it for the data, whatever, run date or print dates or criteria. I would probably say you might want to do what I said earlier, but save the report as a copy the report, save it, add it to the reports menu, and then assign security if you didn't want other people getting into it.
Okay, next question is, once you generate an Excel-style spreadsheet in Timberline, can you then export that spreadsheet to Excel and save it there?
If you create an okay, the only way that I find that works is if you make the fields in the reports, you make them very standard across the page. So you can say in Excel, you export it to a text file. So I'll give you an example of something I've done here on that. So I created export out of here. Let's see if I got it here somewhere. So what you do is you have to create this so it's a comma separated file. It's very clean, and I don't have it, but what you would do here is I'll build a report real quick for you. So we go here, we click invoice data. What I typically do is I get rid of all the headings if you're going to put in there. So let's turn that off. Run this all the way to the top up here so you don't get any page breaks. Shoot that all the way up. And then I get the vendor. I type the comma here. I go like the invoice number. I type a comma here. And then I'll put status and whatever fields you want. Put a comma. And I'll throw the amount in there. Get rid of this. I'll click this, no commas, print preview. Before I do that, I might want a single space. And I'm doing this kind of quick, but we have a limited time. And if I go through here, so then what I could do is, that didn't work. So I'm missing some data. So what I have to do is I highlight this, go to print control, go here. That's weird. What I need to do is, you would tell this row to print control, sorry. Tell us to print for every invoice, and then when you preview it, okay, so there's my nicely format, and when I print it, print to a file, I would say print to a file, a text file, and then give it a name, and then you open that text file with Excel and say it's comma separated. That was a lot, but that's how you would do it.
Okay. Next question is, when adding multiple and or conditions, does the order of conditions change the results?
It sure does. That's why I said in there, sometimes I have to go down to the bottom, so and or, they do definitely make a difference. So probably what you try to do is get all your ands up the top and your ors down on the bottom. So it's this and this and this, or and the cost codes you go this, or the cost code is that, or the cost codes you go out, and so forth. So that example. So it definitely does make a difference.
Okay. I think we lost you, Bob. It says you're offline.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just have to do. I'm at a client site, and where I'm doing a wireless, and maybe my internet is funky.
Okay. So anyone else who had questions, we're going to have to follow up with you after the webinar. I have your information, and I will make sure that Bob gets a hold of it to answer your questions. But we want to thank you for attending today's Lunch and Learn session. We'll be emailing out the presentation to all attendees so you can watch it again if you need to. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Thank you and have a great day.